The empty courtyard. Our parable about nothing. Far beyond the last cultivated fields, where mist clung to pine needles, and the wind carried the scent of stone and old rain, there stood a monastery with no name. It was not known for its size or its beauty. It had no sacred texts carved into its walls, no relics housed in golden chambers, and no statues gazing down upon pilgrims. It had only one feature, a large courtyard at its center. The courtyard was made of bare earth, surrounded on all sides by plain wooden corridors. It held no fountain, no tree, no altar, no ornament. The soil was raked each morning into concentric circles that began nowhere and ended nowhere. When the wind passed over it, the patterns faded like footprints in shallow water. In this monastery lived a single monk. He had no title, no disciples, and no history known beyond the mountains. His robes were the color of smoke. His eyes were neither bright nor dull. He moved through the corridors without hurry, as though time poured through him without resistance. Each morning, before the sun cleared the peaks, he stepped into the courtyard and began his slow raking of the soil. The circles he created were never measured. They wobbled sometimes. The ridges of soil were not always even. And yet, when seen as a whole, the courtyard held a silence that wrapped around the heart like snowfall, soft, cold, and complete. Travelers came from time to time. Some were seekers, others wanderers who had lost their way. They arrived with questions, with burdens, with dreams half carried and half abandoned. They found no scriptures, no chants, no ceremony. Some waited for the monk to explain. He never did. Some tried to offer coins, scrolls, or prayer beads. He accepted nothing. A few stayed to watch the courtyard for days. Most left without understanding. A few stayed longer. One or two never left. The monk's only act was to keep the courtyard empty. He swept leaves when the wind brought them in. He raked out the footprints left by deer. When snow fell, he let it cover the earth. When it melted, he returned to his circles. He did not preserve the patterns from one day to the next. Each morning, he began again. To outsiders, the emptiness appeared as neglect. To those who stayed, it began to feel different. They noticed how sound changed as it crossed the space, how breath slowed while standing within it, how thoughts, once insistent and sharp, began to fall apart, like dry petals in the hand. A traveling scholar once visited and observed in silence for 7 days. On the 8th, he left without writing a word in his journals. Not from failure, but from a sudden and overwhelming understanding that there was nothing to record. The courtyard offered no meaning, and in that absence, a deeper knowing emerged. It was not the nothing of loss, nor the nothing of waiting. It was a nothing complete unto itself, like the sky before the first bird has flown through it. Time passed. The monk grew older, though not noticeably. His body bent slightly at the shoulders. His raking slowed, but the circles continued. The courtyard remained unchanged. 1 year, a season of heavy storms came. Rain fell day after day, filling the courtyard with mud and puddles. For weeks, the monk did not rake. He simply stood at the edge each morning and bowed to the earth, as if acknowledging its choice to be formless. When the rains passed, he began again. The mud dried. The circles returned. Nothing had been lost. At night, the moonlight often illuminated the courtyard, casting shadows from the railings that danced upon the earth like passing thoughts. On those nights, the monk sat at the threshold, watching the light fall, neither grasping nor naming what he saw. Over time, those who visited spoke of the place in whispers. They did not describe it as sacred or holy. They said only that it held something they had not known they were seeking. A vastness, a stillness, a kind of truth that asked nothing in return. Years faded like mist. The monk eventually lay down one evening beneath the corridor's edge, his eyes closing without effort. The next morning, the courtyard was untouched. No circles, no footprints, just flat earth open to sky. No one replaced him. No one was needed. The wind still came, and in the heart of the nameless monastery, the courtyard remained empty. Reflection. The story of the empty courtyard is not about absence but presence without possession. The monk's life is devoted not to filling space, but to keeping it clear. An act not of negation, but of reverence. Nothingness, as shown here, is not a void to be feared. It is the space from which all things arise, and to which all things return. In the absence of objects, distractions and meaning, imposed by mind, something deeper is revealed, a still awareness that needs no form to exist. In Zen traditions and other Eastern teachings, the concept of mu or emptiness is not nihilism. It is fullness without boundary. The empty courtyard does not lack. It offers everything by offering nothing. It does not answer questions. It dissolves them. And sometimes, the clearest truths speak in silence, written not in words, but in raked earth that the wind will soon erase.